Imposter syndrome doesn't just make you feel bad. For a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, it's silently crushing their life. Imposter syndrome can cost you relationships, careers, promotions, and opportunities you haven't even thought of, and destroy your life in a lot of areas that you have thought of, right? You've already seen this happening in your life, and that's why you're watching this video. Before the end of this video, I'm going to give you specific tools, strategies, and techniques to beat it. I don't mean beat it a little bit. I mean hunt it down and kill it. We are going to crush it. Let's jump right in. Has somebody ever given you a compliment and you say, yeah, that's nice, but I don't really buy it. I don't really believe it. Why? Because I don't believe in myself. I think it's nice that you said that, but I think you were just being nice. Have you ever gotten a promotion and you said, oh my gosh, the higher the monkey goes, the more his butt shows. I think this is the Peter principle where I've been promoted to my level of incompetence. Who am I to think that I can run this whole division? Have you ever had maybe an opportunity to teach a class or a course or give a presentation? You go, hey, I know I got a degree in this or whatever, but I don't have that much experience. There's got to be tons of people out there that know 10 times what I know about this topic. Who am I to say, hey, I'm the expert. I should be teaching this. You feel like you just can't pull it off. Well, you'd be wrong. Let's look exactly at the specific features of why people think they're an imposter, and we're going to crush every single one of them. Here's your first strategy, and it's a great one. What makes an expert? I actually had one of my students come to me and we did a video coaching call. They thought that was like the coolest thing ever. They got to speak to Professor Paul, and they said the first challenge that they had is, hey, I feel like I'm an imposter. I want to go out and I'm learning all these tools and strategies, and I want to go out and I want to share them with other people. It's my sincere, heartfelt desire to go out there and help people, but I got imposter syndrome. I mean, who the hell am I to say that I know better than you, that I'm some kind of genius and I've got all the answers, and here, just listen to me and your life will go great. I don't buy it, and I don't feel it in my heart. You know what I told him? I said, you don't have to be at the end of the journey. You don't have to be the great master, the monk up on the mountaintop, finally hitting enlightenment and at the peak of your field. Here's what you need to do. Here's the definition of an expert. An expert, write this down, is a person who knows one more thing about something than you do. The person who knows one more thing, that's the expert. I remember an old analogy. Two guys are in the cockpit, and they're the only guys that are willing to maybe take a shot at flying the plane. And the guy says, what is this? And the guy says, I don't know. He says, well, what's this? And the guy says, geez, I don't know. And he says, what's this? I call it a stick. And the other guy says, no, that's the throttle. You pull back on that or you push it forward, and that determines how much thrust you get. He says, you're flying the plane. He says, why are you picking me? Because you know one more thing about this plane than I do. That makes you the expert, and that makes you most qualified. I know nothing about any of the instruments here. You know one thing, you're way ahead of me. Jump in the seat. Well, that's true in every area of life. So I told the lady that I was working with, I said, hey, you are further along the journey than the other person. You're not the end of the journey. You'd be the great master. You'd be the biggest genius in this area of anybody. You just have to be 1, 2, or 3 steps ahead of the other person. Nice if you can be 3 steps, because you can take them at least 3 steps along the way. And hopefully by then you've gone up another couple of steps in your journey and you pull them along even farther. But you're simply helping somebody get from where they are to where you are, not to the ultimate, because most people won't follow anybody that far anyways. You actually are an expert. And even in the areas where you feel like, geez, I'm not doing great in these areas, I've had so many failures, I've ran into so many problems, people love that. They want to hear about all your failures. They want to hear about how you felt about them. They want to feel how you dealt about them, okay? How you overcame these things. Your journey, including your failures, are part of the path that they want to hear about, learn from, and as they say in AA, let me have done that for you. You are helping them remove some of those pitfalls. It's kind of like the guy who gets across the minefield. He says, I'm not an expert in minefields. I'm not an expert on this minefield. I do not know where every single mine in this minefield is, so I'm not an expert in any way, shape, or form. But I can tell you, if you do what I do and step where I stepped, you are going to get through that minefield. That is expertise. That is not being an imposter. That's the way to teach. Hey, if you're loving this content and it's been beneficial to you, go ahead and subscribe so you get all our content, and then go ahead and share it with somebody that could use these tools, strategies, and techniques to make their life better too. That's a good friend. Here's the other challenge that causes imposter syndrome. You say, oh gosh, there's so many people that are so much better than me. Well, good news, bad news. The good news is there are some people that don't know as much as you. You are a little bit along the way, along the path, and you have gained some expertise. The bad news is there's a boatload of people that are way ahead of you. But that is true of every single person. In Kung Fu, they say even the masters have masters. You could be the known greatest Kung Fu champion in the whole world. And people would say, hey, where'd you learn all that great Kung Fu? And you say, I learned it from my master. You know what that master taught him? Every single thing that student knows, but not every single thing that the master knows. So the master is actually better. And guess what? They had a master too. So you never reach absolute mastery and then go out and share, your largesse with the world, your expertise with the world. You're always somebody along a path, and you are never an imposter as long as you are not trying to teach more than you know. Just be humble, be sincere, and never teach more than you know, and you're not an imposter. You're just an average person that's got an above average education in a given area, and you have a heartfelt need to share it with other people. I think that's a beautiful thing, and you're doing great things for the world. The other reason why people feel like they're an imposter is they don't feel properly prepared. They don't feel like they know everything yet, or somebody would be able to point out something that they don't know. I'll tell you a story about Einstein. He said, I know only the tiniest little bit of all of physics, and yet people say I'm the grandmaster of physics. It's not true. Here's the whole of physics. See this little spot right here? You can barely see it. That's how much I know about physics. He calculated that if he lived about 1,000 years, then he could probably know the whole of physics. You know something? He way undercalculated. Probably take him 100,000 years or more. There's an awful lot of physics out there. It's almost virtually what? Endless, like the universe. But look at the Einstein analogy. Even he didn't think that he knew everything about physics. So people could get up there in class and say, oh, I'll ask a physics question. And of course, Einstein will just be able to pull it out of his head. I'll tell you, the majority of the time, he didn't. He said, let me get back to you. Einstein, let me get back to you. And he looked it up because he didn't want to give people a frou-frou answer. He didn't want to fake something. He didn't try to want to look smart. He wanted to actually give you the correct answer. And sometimes the questions people would ask, there was no answer yet. Hey, it's physics. We don't know everything yet. That's Einstein, and you ain't no Einstein, so it's okay. You don't have to know everything. You just have to be a little bit ahead of the guy that you're teaching. Have a little bit of humility and show that humility, and your students will love you for it. I'll tell you a nice story about something that I did to get rid of imposter syndrome, and I think it'll work great for you. Remember I said the expert is the person that knows one more thing than you? Here's a great strategy that I used. I wanted to go and teach psychology courses, but I wanted to make sure that I could get up there and I could talk for an hour and never run out of stuff to talk about that was of value for my psychology students and that would be effective with their clients when they got out of there. And I was teaching this whole big, thick book of psychology. I was reading that book ahead of time, and a lot of that stuff I didn't know before I started reading that book. I had to highlight it, take notes, try to memorize some of it, at least have my notes and highlights in front of me as I'm teaching the class. So you know what I did? I broke it down. I said, what percentage of my education was actually valuable to me when I got out there in the psychology field? And I said, out of everything I know, I learned less than 25% in my 4 different degrees at university, and I learned the other 75 to 80% out there on my own, learning from therapists, learning from clients, picking it up, learning life lessons in my own life, these types of things, mentorships, internships, all kinds of things that had nothing to do with bookish knowledge and learning from college. So I taught my class in the same way. I said, I promised the university that I would teach you what's in this book. So what I did is I used the 80-20 rule. I would take 20% of what was in that book that was worth 80% of the value. We would go through that in an hour-long class. You got 60 minutes. I would take 1/4 of that. I would use 15 minutes, and I would teach what was in that book that I thought was of value. Now, you were required to read that book so you could read the other 80% on your own. But I was ahead of virtually every student just because I read that book. You know why? Because about 80 to 90% of the kids in that class never touched the book, or they scanned through and then they, got back to Netflix or the next exciting video game, or they had discovered wine and women in the same week and they were out doing that, okay? But I wanted to be the expert. So I said, I'll take a different approach. I'll take an extra step just to make sure that there's no imposter syndrome. So you know what I did? Here's how you become an expert. If your students are reading one book, here's what you do. You read 2 books on that same topic. You now know how much more? You know twice as much as them. If I read 2 extra books, I've read 3, you've read 1, I know how much more than you? I know 3 times as much. Damn, you're an expert at that point. So that's what I did. I went on the web and I looked through my library of books and I picked up some different stuff and I scanned through my old notes. I did some searches on the internet. You can ask AI some questions now, and I got some extra information. Some of the stuff I printed out, I shoved it inside the book. Now I was a true expert going out there. But I'll tell you, I wasn't the week before, because each week I would try to keep a little bit ahead of them, and that's how I did it. And you can too. This technique is available to everybody. Here's probably the number one reason why most people have imposter syndrome, where they feel like they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not expert enough. You know what it is? An illusion. It's a feeling. You don't feel like you're an expert. You feel like, hey, I'm proposing to be this thing, but I'm not really this thing, and somebody's going to find out my secret, my deep, dark secret that I'm secretly, fake and false or whatever. You know what that is? Write this down. It's a feeling. Now, let me ask you a second question. Are feelings facts? Because facts are real and feelings are what? Just feelings. They're illusions. So, if I say to you, are you an expert? Yes or no. Give me a yes or give me a no. But then you got to prove it. So always ask yourself, prove it. How can I prove that I'm not an expert and that I'm an imposter some way? You can probably think of a few different reasons why you might be, but virtually every reason you ever come up with, that's going to be true for everybody until you get in like the top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1% of people. Well, there's a lot of experts between here and there. And they're not false or fake or imposters, and neither are you. You're going to find, when you rigorously examine this feeling, I'm an imposter, I'm not good enough, you're going to find out that it's false and it falls flat on its face. Remember, feelings are not facts. And there's so many different ways that you can support yourself. Like I said, students read 1 book, you read 3. Very simple. Now you have a knowledge base that's 3 to 1 versus them, and you can't possibly not be an expert. I like that technique because it's very objective and I can prove it absolutely positively, scientifically, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And you can feel any way you want and say, I'm an imposter, I'm not an expert, and I can prove you wrong every single time. So let the feeling go. It's just a feeling. And if anything, take that feeling and use it to drive you to do what? Gain more expertise. Here's what I told my student about not feeling like an imposter. I said, teach what you know, don't teach anything that you don't know, and speak from your heart. If you do those 3 things, you will never be an imposter. I mean, positively, absolutely, scientifically provable, you're not an imposter. And you gave good, solid information. Here's what I know. Here's how I apply it. Here's what works. Here's part of my journey. Here's what also didn't work. And here's how I turned it around. That's it. Now sit back down. As long as your students know that you're not teaching more than you know, you're talking about your journey, you're talking about both what you know, what you don't know, your own mishaps, and how you turned it around, and you're sincerely just being a good, kind, loving person, being who you are, and trying to do your best for them, you will never, ever, ever be an imposter in any way, shape, or form. It's not even possible. Here's the other reason why people feel like they're an imposter. I'm not as good as so-and-so. Remember, there's always somebody better than you. You just have to be better than your students. Help the people that are at your level. Nobody's going to be at the top level every single time. There's a huge middle. Do you know what's between the bottom and the top? Yeah, a whole lot of middle. 99.9% of everything isn't black or white. It's not top or bottom. It's middle. It's great to be middling. Just again, don't teach any more than you've learned. Let yourself know what you know and let the other person know what they know. And I'll tell you something strange. About half the time, these people that you think are 10, 20, 30% better than you, they're not. They're just putting on a better show and they're trying to fudge things and they're not being sincere. Hey, maybe they should have imposter syndrome because they're really not significantly better than you in any way, shape, or form, and yet they're trying to present that way. Those are the real imposters, and strangely enough, those are the ones that never worry about it. Here's the other thing, the major thing that causes quote-unquote imposter syndrome. It's just low self-esteem. It's old programming. But what is self-esteem? It's literally the way in which you esteem yourself. How high do you think you are? And what you're doing is you're winning the game of life, but you're keeping score lousy, and you're really here, but you tell yourself you're here. The egomaniacs are here, and they tell themselves they're here. Both are in error. Both people are wrong. So if you're here and you're telling yourself you're here, yeah, that's low self-esteem. It's probably the old inner critic, that voice in your head that says you're not good enough, this isn't right, people are going to find you out, you're a fake, you're a fraud, blah, 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 blah. If you hear this irritating voice and it's just full of little images of the worst case scenarios and these horrible cringy feelings, remember, feelings aren't facts. That's just an inner critic running in the background. And here's what I want you to do. Write this down. Shut the hell up. Tell your inner voice to shut the hell up, because that's the only thing it's good for, is shutting the hell up. Because all it does is run its mouth, and it lives for itself, by itself, to be itself, and to just irritate you. It has no functional purpose. You've got all kinds of great things about you, all kinds of functions, and all kinds of wonderful things that you can do. You will do amazing things out there once you clear out the clutter, the crap in your mind, and there's no bigger piece of crap than your inner critic. It's pure crap. I mean, there's virtually no redeeming value of having an inner critic. Hunt it down and kill it, and don't ever listen to it. It's wrong. Want to get all my best, newest, and freshest content all in one spot? Want to learn how to be healthy, wealthy, and wise? How to deal with the three main areas of life that are going to help you go from zero to hero in about 8 hours? Jump in and grab my content on my membership site. Link up above, link down in the description below. Everything you need to know from soup to nuts for how to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. So health and anti-aging strategies, fitness strategies, wealth strategies, how to make money, save money, earn money, get multiple streams of income, get your money making your money, invest. Also, psychology tools and tips, how to have motivation, better relationships, parenting skills, career building skills, motivational skills, self-esteem skills, everything you could need, want, or desire from the neck up, it's in there, and you're going to get direct access to me, and I'm constantly putting fresh content in there. Go ahead and grab it. It's all there at one low monthly fee. You're going to love it. I'll tell you, I know all about imposter syndrome. Ask me how I know, because I used to have it myself. When I was an early therapist, I had imposter syndrome. I'm like, who the hell am I to tell people what to do with their lives? And I had about one psychology course and one chemical dependency course. And here I am on this unit trying to help young adolescents get off drugs and alcohol. And I'm like, man, I hardly know anything about this. And I've got all these wonderful therapists with literally decades of experience out there to help them. And then it's like, what am I going to add? What am I going to bring to the table? And one of the therapists pulled me aside and said, Paul, these people are hurting, they're insecure, and they've never had a really good friend. If nothing else, you're a really good friend. And half of what we do here is we teach people the difference between a good friend and a bad friend. People that help you and people that hurt you. People that want the best for you and people that are just trying to get things out of you. If you can be a really good friend to them and just give them a little bit of advice that you know is true, your best advice currently, that'll be far superior to the advice in their head and the things that they've been told out there, and you'll be a great therapist. Then keep learning more and keep teaching more and just go along the path. You will get there and you'll be great because you got a good heart, and that's the best place to start from. Now, the second area I had imposter syndrome in was being a educator. I said, well, geez, what if I get up in front of the class and I don't know something? And I talked to an instructor and he said, Paul, I don't know everything. Do you know every damn thing? Wow, you must be a genius, because I have yet to meet anybody that knows everything. Just don't be that know-it-all teacher that you never liked in college and you never liked in high school or middle school or any school. Don't be that guy. When you don't know, have the humility to look somebody in the eye and say, you know what? I don't know. Let me check on that and let me get back to you. So the tool was, I didn't have to know everything. I had to know what I know, teach only that which I know, and then if I don't know something, hey, go look it up, call somebody, find out, research it a bit, then come into class the next day or the next week and share this with a student. And they'll get smarter and you'll get smarter and everybody wins. You're going to do that dozens and dozens of times every single year throughout your teaching career between now and when you retire. And even in that last week when you're retiring, you say, man, I must know everything there is to humanly know about psychology. Some little so-and-so, some little runt, some little 18-year-old kid's going to come into your college class and he's going to ask you a question, and damn if you don't know the answer. You're going to have to say, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to come in special. I'm going to be retired next week, but I'm still going to come back next week and I'm going to give you that answer. That's the way to do it. You don't have to be perfect. Perfectionism is a mental disorder. I've treated it many, many times. It's a horrible thing. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to be humble and to learn yourself. Here's your bonus tip. According to statistics, 70% of people have imposter syndrome. And I'm talking about CEOs. I'm talking about owners of major corporations. I'm talking about award-winning authors and therapists. I mean, people at the top of their field, and still about 70% of them have imposter syndrome. It's okay. A lot of times even I'm sitting here and I'm like, who am I to give you advice and to, shoot all this information across the universe like I know everything? According to my wife, I don't know a damn thing and I'm an idiot. If I buy into that, then I'm never going to get up here and do a video again. But like I said earlier, teach what you know, only teach what you know, do it with a good heart and keep learning, and you'll never be an imposter. You're going to do fantastic out there. I have absolute faith in you. And if I have faith in you, you should have faith in you too.